Yeah, this is a great conversation, Paul. Why don't we just continue with this? We're just going to keep going with this right off the bat. We're not even going to do an introduction. Everybody knows who you are, but we're wrapped up in this conversation off the air about time and the freight game and direct shipper freight, broker freight. This is good. Let's just go with this. We're talking here uh, about maybe having some setbacks and maybe some I don't know, losses, or maybe some wins in this trying to get direct freight. And we're talking about time, and and in relation to the kind of conversation you're going to have with a shipper versus a broker. You're talking to a broker, and it's one call. You're focused on that one load right now. For obviously you want to hit it out of the park on the rate, but with a shipper, way different conversation. We're gonna talk about what we need to talk about. We want to focus on pulling that first load. Okay, getting a relationship, pulling that first load, maybe pulling a few more loads. They're gonna learn they can rely on me. I'm gonna learn what their freight lanes are, and we're gonna develop it over time. Or it might take 6 months of conversations for me to pull that first load for them. And am I gonna treat it? I've been privy to some phone calls, and we've done some training with some different phone calls, and the difference in the conversation is astonishing. Most people wouldn't, until you've heard it, you don't really understand it, and this is part of the value of what you do. But it can take time. It can take 2 months, 3 months to pull your first load for that person, and then we're going to give it some more time and develop it, and then we're going to come back and say, okay, I understand you, now you understand me. Let's talk more about, okay, maybe this freight lane here. It's working for me. It's working for you. You've seen that we can handle it. Let's talk more about that. And then you can maybe improve the rate, maybe adjust the schedule, to different days of the week, different times, whatever. Maybe you've discovered maybe we need a drop trailer there, whatever. But it's about time and developing it over time. Is that something that I think gets missed in having the different conversations?
Hey, Adam. I know we've been talking here for a little bit this morning, and man, I appreciate the time once again. I want you to always know that. And I appreciate the people that are checking us out. As far as the conversation goes, it's with anything. I mean, if you really break it down and try to drill it home, you know what I mean? If you're at home and you got a buddy, and the buddy calls you, and you guys go out and do what you do, you think about how that relationship started, right? It wasn't that all of a sudden you met this person, they were your buddy, right? There were things that you went through, and in strengthening the relationship, there were some ups and downs as well that you probably have gone through to know that this is really someone that you can rely upon and depend upon, right?
Right.
So you have your business, right? And you're working to develop a strong foundation. You're working to build your business, right? Well, you want to build that upon strong relationships, right? If your relationships are strong, you can feel confident that you can grow, and you can take that to the next prospect, someone that you're wanting to develop relationships with, right? So you're able to grow. So the conversations that we have, whether it's a broker, whether it's a shipper, again, you got to make them meaningful on a consistent basis, I believe. But when you do talk to a broker and you talk to a shipper, the conversation is different. Matter of fact, I had someone who's interested in the program. No, I'm sorry. He's one of our clients. Okay. And we were on a call together. We set an appointment, got on the phone call. And I mean, he was amazed at the end. What we do at the end, we'll talk about the phone call. I'll just ask them, what did they think? What did they notice? Right? What did they take away from the call? Because I want them to internalize it, right? So they can understand what just went down. And he was amazed. He was like, wow, Paul, I was just amazed by it. And I asked him, why were you amazed by it? I want him to tell me, because I want him to get it. And when he gets these points, I'll drill that home. Every time that we talk, those are the things that I will drill home to him, so that he understands when he has a conversation with not just a shipper, but just in general, and any business opportunity that he has, these key elements could benefit him in those other areas. It's a slow, long process, right? And developing these strong relationships, but it starts somewhere. And so
Yes.
in that initial conversation that we're having with this direct shipper, he was saying that he was amazed how I was able to get in and communicate or just get this guy to start talking. Just start talking.
Right.
And when he's talking, he's telling us all these different things about his business, about him, about what's important, right? His experiences and things like that. And that information is, I put it this way, and I don't like to put it this way because at any rate, I say that they're telling you how to sell them, right? And I need to change that, because what it is that they're telling you what's important to them, right? And we have to recognize that and be about that. If I have a customer, right, somebody that comes in my door, why am I going to sell him a pair of red shoes when he wants blue shoes and can't find blue shoes anywhere else, right? Why am I talking to a shipper when he comes in and he needs a reefer? I'm not going to sell him a dry van, right? Why am I going to, he's going to come in to my door and then I'm going to sell him where he needs someone every day on time, right? And he needs them there on time. And I'm going to sell him that, we've got swing doors, right? I mean, I'm not listening to him and I'm not paying attention. I'm not trying to find out what his needs are, what's important to him. Those are the things that are very important, right? When you have this conversation with a broker, I asked him my client, what is the difference between you talking to a broker and the direct shipper? Based upon the conversation you just heard, which lasted maybe half an hour, right? He said, you get so much more information, right, from the shipper, and you get to understand them and what's important to them. Whereas with the broker, it's about rate. He said they always talk about rate. They always talk about this. They always talk about that. And you know what? It's okay, because that's what that's about. You know what I mean? That's just the way it's. I'm not going to take this behemoth industry and say, okay, in the broker world, I'm going to change it. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. But over here on the shipper side, this is how it is, right? And so let's talk about that and determine what we need, what our conversation needs to be about. So we can talk this over here, but when we come over here, we need to think in a different way, and when we are able to accomplish that, right, we'll start to see things in a different way. We'll start to see honestly, you'll be able to see how you can position yourself, right? Because they're going to tell you what's important. You can position yourself in a position of strength, right? You're going to be able to provide them what they are needing, what they're asking for, and develop new opportunities, develop clients, this is a business, right? And you want to give them what it is that they need, and you're going to be able to grow from there. But it's a different conversation. So I think I answered your question.
Yeah, if it's from my experience, when you call a broker, it can be a one-time thing, or it can be somebody you call for often. It can go all kinds of different ways. So typically, you call a broker, you're talking about one load. You want to get obviously the best price you can on that load. But if you, in a different way, the broker shipper, when you're done with that call with the broker, would you say, because you weren't successful on that load, would you say, I guess talking to brokers doesn't work? What? I'm not talking to brokers anymore. Okay.
That's
or
a great point.
I wasn't success. I didn't get that load. I guess talking to brokers doesn't work.
Right.
Well, then I guess talking to brokers doesn't work. So what do you do then? It's not really like that. And you wouldn't do that with a broker. Why do you want to do it with talking to a direct customer, direct shipper?
Absolutely.
You weren't successful that one time. That's not the end of the story. This is not the end of things. And two, you may not have been successful that one time. You might have caught them on a day when they're very busy and they don't have time to talk to you.
Right.
You might have caught them when they don't have freight available, but you'll catch them. They like to talk. It's not like talking to a broker where you call and talk about that load.
Yeah.
I've learned from the conversations that I've been, sat in on, and you've sent me for training materials, that's not really how it goes. They want to tell you about the problems. They want to tell you what they're going through, and they'll
God.
probably give you too much information that they shouldn't be giving you, because you're
Yeah.
right. They're going to tell you exactly what 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 you need to tell them to get their business. Oh,
Yeah.
I had these trucks booked and they didn't show up last week, or I ended up paying $800 more on a load because the first truck fell off. The broker lost the truck, and this and that, and we had to do this to find a truck, and these people lied to me, or they lied about the price, whatever. They're telling you everything you need to know. It's
How to
not
sell it.
it's
Yeah.
not uncommon. It's not uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to help you inadvertently. What they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, would a broker ever do that? Not a smart one, you know. Um, but that's the conversations the shipper's having with the broker. Most they're having that conversation.
Sure.
Why can't you have it? With
Right.
with a little bit of assistance
Yeah.
or training. But I guess inadvertently, what we're talking about here is, let's just back up here and reset the table. This is Paul from Freight Connect. If you've not seen these videos before, Paul has a service where he helps connect carriers with direct shipper freight, and this is a lot to learn. It's a lot to grasp. Freight Connect, fr8connect.com is how you get a hold of them. And I want to go a little bit deeper into it today. Maybe talk about there's people who maybe don't have a success right off the bat, maybe take longer. Some may not have it at all. Others have had great success. I've had great success with it. Even the information, I've taken and used, outside of that circle, and had some success with it. So let's talk about, like, I'm a carrier. I come to you I hire you to, help connect me with direct shipper freight, and you go do your part. But I want to know what is my part? What do I need to do? Okay. To help myself. Obviously, I'm putting money into something. I want to get the best chance of success that I can. Otherwise, why would I really do it? And I want to get out as much as I'm putting into it. What can I do to help myself be successful with this program?
Yeah. Great question. Let's see. Hold on a second. Because you gave me something to think about, and
Okay.
I want to make sure I touch bases on it. So I'm making a little note here. Okay. So in regards to trying to in regards to being successful, in regards to the program that we're talking about, I look at it this way. I've had many, and when I say many, I don't know how many. I've made thousands of connections, right? Talking to carriers, thousands. All right. I've talked to many carriers. And when I say that, I'm saying that I'm pretty consistent. I am consistent with the conversations that I have in regards to my experiences, in regards to what I see that can help one to be successful. One of the things that I will mention in certain conversations, depending upon how the conversation is going, is that because someone will bring it up, like say, oh, so you just provide sales leads, with another program that we provided. I said, you can look at it that way, but this is how I see it. But at the same time, if you have the time, if you have the resources to develop direct shipper opportunities on your own, right? Go ahead and do that. Do that. I would encourage you to do it. Do not come to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
To do that for you, but do it. Me, I'm out here because there are a lot of people who have indicated that they're looking for opportunities like that. And it seems as though and I've had many carriers tell me they don't have time, right? Or they don't know how, or they didn't know this, or they don't have the resource, on and so forth. So we've put together a program that where we will operate on your behalf. It's up to you, you know, if you want to go this route or if you want to do it on your own. All right. Now, in terms of what are you supposed to bring to the table as a client? I'll say that, it's your business. And so therefore, there is an element that let me put it to you this way. Even if I put something in your lap and said, here you go, here's a direct shipper waiting for you to call, and all he wants is you to show up. He wants you to give him a call and just show up at his door every day at this time and move this load every single day. And here's what he'll pay you. And it's a great amount of money. Even if that is the case, right? What do you think that the client needs to do? What is their part in that?
I'm thinking pick up the phone and call him.
Okay.
Wherever you leave it, if it's all he has to do is show up at the door, damn sure show up at that door, at least the first time. Talk to him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I know by the time you've talked to him, it's not a cold call anymore. It's a warm call and bordering on a hot call. You're not calling into somebody who's never heard of you. Make that phone call.
Yeah.
It's a done deal. You just got to make the phone call.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Let me back up. I don't know if this is a appropriate question to ask you, and you don't have to give numbers, but
okay.
Is there a certain number of people that have contacted you, been very excited about the prospect, paid you, hired you, signed on to your program, hired you to do work for them, and you've basically never heard from them again?
Yeah, it's at different levels.
Okay.
There's those that have given us money to initiate, the previous program that we had, and they gave us some, they paid us initially, and then I never heard from them again. Everyone has their circumstances, right? And I get it. That's cool. But even with the initial money that they pay us, it was to set up their program, and we did it, and we did some customized work, develop their packet, put it in a way where it was very presentable. They really liked what we put together, and they could use it. So we gave them something even in that initial step. But then we never heard from them again to go to the next step, and we would reach out. And then beyond that,
well, let me ask you. Let me.
Sure.
So that it's the question's on me if it's a bad one. Beyond that, is there a point where somebody will hire you, give you all the information, participate in your service? You go out and develop these leads that are a hot deal, pretty much a done deal. It's to the point now with everybody. There is a point where you have to participate. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Seal the deal. Is there times where you get to that point and where all the customer, all the carrier has to do is join in, make the phone call,
right,
and they can't, out of fear, or don't do it?
Many times. Yes. And
is it fair to say that happens a lot?
Yeah, it happens more than I would like. Because I'm in developing Freight Connect. It was out of a scenario where we realized we operated as brokers many years ago, and realized that there were a lot of carriers out there that wanted to work with direct shippers. We would hear them say, I've been at it for 3 months, and no one brokers aren't wanting to work with me because of this and that. After 6 months, then brokers tend to work with you. Some after a year. I've even heard of 2 years later. But they thought that they would get their authority and they would just start moving loads, right? And then they start realizing what the rates are like, and on and so forth. And so the reality starts to hit beyond just setting up their authority, right?
Okay.
So then we realized, what? Or what we said was, we asked the question, why aren't you going direct to the shipper? And some didn't know they could. Some didn't, they just that wasn't even a part of the equation. And but there's a there's a deeper process to that. There's many things, just like brokering, there's a lot that you have to do, right?
Yes,
as a broker. And
absolutely.
unless you're in that seat, which I did for a long time, there's a lot that goes into it. But anyway, back to this. So we decided that why don't we be that arm for the carrier to help them get connected with shippers direct, right? And so when we started, people were asking, are we going to be the Uber? Are we the Uber of transportation? This is back in 2015, 14 or so. And I was like, I've never taken an Uber. I don't know what that means, but we're just doing what we do because we saw a need. We wanted to be of support to the carrier. So moving forward, I took an Uber ride and I was like, oh, I see what they're saying, why they would connect us with Uber. And yeah, this is what we do. And then moving forward, carriers that came aboard, they might have signed up to our program, and then they go out to communicate with the shipper direct, which was on them. After we reach out, basically, we will develop a warm lead for you, right?
Right.
The initial call, that ain't easy.
Right.
And when I say that ain't easy, I mean it in the sense that
it's delicate. It's an art form.
It truly is, and I love it. I enjoy it, and the reason why is because I'm the type of person who likes to see something grow from nothing into something, right? Even if I say hello and we have a conversation and we get off the phone, well, guess what? Before that call, there was zero. There was nothing. They didn't know me. I really didn't know them other than a phone number, company name, or whatever. But when we got off the phone, we took it to the next step, right? I know more about you. You know something about me. We have some kind of connection. But when I call you again, you might have forgotten all about me, right?
Right.
So then there becomes that next process of taking it to the next level. So you do remember me, right? Just as in any relationship that's being developed. And then how do you get it to the next level, the next level, the next level, right? And to the point where we do business together. But it has to be somewhat sincere. There has to be the sincerity in it. So our clients, when we reach out to these opportunities, it's cold. I mean, it's not even cold, it's frozen, right? And we have to thaw it out. And then we need to warm it up even more. So when you do make a call, it's a warm call. Okay?
Right.
And then for you to make that call, you're seeing at that point that, one, we've gone through even if you talk to somebody and they say, well, you know what, we don't have anything going on right now. We don't have any, you didn't have that conversation a day ago. You know what I mean? You didn't have that conversation a month ago. You didn't have that, but this is a part of the process, right? So you have to understand that, okay, how do we handle the call at that point, right? It's not the same as communicating with a broker. So we have clients that may make calls, right, or follow up. And I don't know, sometimes maybe it's that they don't understand that part of the call. And that's what we work to train them to. And we're not saying, hey, we're trying to train you to make calls. I guess we are. But we're talking about this is your business. Whether you go to the bank, you're not looking online how to, go to the next level and communicate with the banker so that you can go to the next level and go to the next level and eventually get money and do this and do that. Although you can, go seek that out. How do we do that? How do we position ourselves so that we look favorable to the bank? Right? How do I position myself so I look favorable to the shipper so that I can ultimately become a carrier of choice, so that I ultimately become a client of choice to the banker, right? So you can position this in any fashion you want, in terms of what you're trying to accomplish and where you're trying to go. And so what we try to do is help you in the sense of saying, when you have these conversations, this is what you need to be, how you need to be positioning yourself, but yet at the same time, not in the sense of that this is a lie, right? No, we want you to be real, because we'll put together material that you can use, that you can send out to people based upon a questionnaire that you fill out for us, right? And that
Right.
questionnaire helps us to learn about you so that we can put together this information. We say it's customized to you, your company, in terms of who you are, how you operate, what you want to accomplish, how you want your company to be perceived. And when I say perceived, truly, what is your company about? Where are you guys trying to go? And one of my clients said, new clients, he said, Paul, that questionnaire was really good. It made me stop and think about my business, right? So if somebody signs up with us, it's not necessarily all about, okay, you're going to give me clients, right? Where you're just going to give me clients. No. For us, we definitely want you to think about your business, right? If it is that you want to grow, and if you want to bring aboard direct shippers, you see what I'm saying? If you don't want to do any of those things and other things that we offer and what we're trying to help you in, if we don't pertain to what you're trying to accomplish, then we're not a good fit. You see,
Right.
and that's okay, and that's quite okay. But to directly answer your question, which hopefully I'm not, it doesn't sound like I'm trying to dance around it. What is your part? It is that when we bring the warm, not the frozen, not the cold, but when we bring the warm opportunity to you, our expectation is for you to follow through. And when we say follow through, I'm talking about in terms of how you have the conversation. You can have any kind of conversation you want with the shipper, but here's our formula. What we're trying to pass on to you. Here's what we believe will help you to be successful. Here's the type of conversation that we believe you should have. Here's how we're trying to coach you and help you, because this is your company. We don't talk about rates on your behalf. You know what's going to work and what's not. When times are good for you, rates are good. When times are not, they're going to be challenging. But if you're able to get in and be able to develop a relationship, and when times are challenging for carriers, right, then you're going to be able to hopefully they'll take care of you, right? When you were there when they needed you. So we're going to talk about it. Oh, go ahead.
Let me jump in.
Yeah.
That what you just said right there is a conversation I've had with one of my customers, actually.
Okay.
You will never have that conversation with a broker. It's actually one of the first conversations I had with one of the opportunities. We'll say opportunities that you brought me. Okay, we'll talk about my personal experience with this also, because I think it is relevant. And does it make me a cheerleader? Whatever. I'm telling you what my experience is. I've thought a lot too about my part as a carrier, or what a carrier's part should be in your program, and we haven't really discussed this, but I think, well, if I'm going to do something like this, what would give me the best chance for success? Okay, because I'm paying money for it, which incidentally is ridiculously low, if you ask me, and compared to what you're getting, the amount of revenue it's generated me already. But anyway, so my part is a carrier. Okay, first, before I even do it, we're going to talk about, you're going to tell me what your program is, what we're going to do. I have to make up my mind. If I'm going the route of, all right, I'm gonna legitimize my business, and not to say that companies that don't do this, that just run spot market, are not legitimate. That is not at all what I'm saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is, look at the companies that have been around for 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years that have grown. They have all done it with at least a certain percentage of direct freight. Okay, it is very difficult. Now it has been done, but to build a growing, long-lasting company on spot market freight. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say legitimize your business. Nothing else. It's not to say you're illegitimate if you don't.
Right.
Next, be honest with yourself. Say, okay, what are my skill sets? What am I good at? What am I not good at? One thing for me that I decided I was not good at is sales and cold calling, approaching people. I am not good at it. I've become better at it through our conversations, learning from you, blah, 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 and I've applied that. It's getting better. I'm still not great at it. So those two things. Next, decide if you're going to participate in this or not. If you're just saying, I want to hire this company and I want them to do everything from start to finish, all I want to do is show up and haul loads. you're not giving yourself the best chance of success. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to hire you while you're out developing opportunities, developing leads, warm markets. I'm going to be in the background, and we're going to talk. You're going to tell me. You provide notes on your phone calls, and maybe customers divulge what lanes they have, what kind of trailers they need. So with that information that you're giving, while you're developing these opportunities, I'm going to do something with it. What am I going to do? I'm going to start doing market research and lane research on what I need for rates. Okay. There's all kinds of resources out there for that, so that when it comes time to make this call, to follow through, as you said, I'm ready. You know, we're going to talk about rates last. We're going to talk about everything else first. I'm going to have a very clear understanding of what my capabilities are, what I can deliver to somebody, what I have to offer. I'm going to be real honest with myself and say, am I what somebody would call reliable? Do I honestly provide good service?
Certain there, right.
Okay. We're going to have a lot of thoughts like that in our head. And if I'm at the point where you know, deep introspective here, and I say, when it comes time for me to make that phone call and follow through, can I do it? And if I honestly say no, then I'm going to find a way to get some training, to get some help to where I can do it. Now you couldn't put somebody in a better situation to make that phone call. Like you couldn't. You do. It's like here's a silver platter. All you have to do is make the phone call, and it's essentially a done deal.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That is what I paid you for.
Yeah.
If I can't take that and make something of it, now I'm talking about make the phone call. You might make the phone call and not necessarily.
Sorry.
To not necessarily be successful, but that doesn't have to be the end of it.
Yeah.
But you have to make that call, you know, because if I wait, like when we did this, when you and I did this for me, you called me and you said, Troy is ready to talk to you. I said, oh, okay. Give me 5 minutes. We hung up the phone. I made the call. Hey, Troy, this is Adam with such and such, and you've done the call, and he's like, oh yeah. And we had a little conversation. He's like, this is that, and he's like, I got your information. Why don't you contact me when you have a truck back here, and we'll set you up. I'm like, okay, all right. You know, we talked a little bit about rates, and you know, he says, I have some ideas. You have some ideas. Well, when we do the first load, we'll talk about it. And if you don't think it's fair, I'm open to hearing your ideas. And I'm like, done. And okay, when it was, let me key in on this. When it came time for me to haul that first load, I let him go first, which is probably not something I'm supposed to do. And he came in a couple $100 higher with what I was going to come at him with. It was great. So at any rate,
right.
I made that call. Now, if I had not been successful, I would. So I hung up the phone, called you right back, and I think I told you we're going to talk again on Friday. Okay. I was scared to death. I'd never made a phone call like that before. But I made the call, and I'm glad I did, because it gave me the courage to make the next call. Which that customer I thought was probably going to be my secondary customer. But they've turned out to be the big one, and this first one have been like maybe a less volume. Okay, so the second one went even better. She's like, yeah, okay, and she told me, back to what originally got me on this train of thought, is we work with smaller carriers in the area, and because of this problem, that problem, the other thing, better service, blah blah blah, I can get somebody on the phone, and she says they set the rates on their freight, which is okay because they're very good. She says we pay these rates year round because we want you to be here when we need you. We don't want you running off to the spot market every time the spot market spikes. This is what she told me. And, you know, last year during the pandemic, it worked out in your favor because we were very busy. See, I didn't know about them then. I wish I had. It would have been a very different year for me. But she says, we want you to be here. We need you to be in business. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, you're telling me everything I want to hear. Let's do this. We did it, and it has been a fantastic relationship. So if I had not made those phone calls, it would have been my fault. I got nobody to blame but me for not making the phone calls.
Yeah.
And if I would have failed, I would have felt, honestly, it would have discouraged me, but I wouldn't have quit.
Right.
But hey, you know.
But let me ask you, Adam. So okay, and I know your situation, and sometimes it can happen that way, and sometimes it takes longer, right?
Yes.
And then there are
Yes.
situations where it goes nowhere. But even with that, like there can be a client that prospect that you reach out to, and then things can change. Like someone
Yes.
else becomes the transportation or the is the lead person or has taken over that position, right? Whether they were let go, whether they quit, whether they transfer to another, and on and so forth. So then the dynamics change, right? But if you are consistently putting yourself in position, meaning that you're reaching out, right? And you're going to evolve into that they know who you are, right? Even the person who's just that answers the phone, oh, hey, is this Adam? You know, then you have put yourself in a position to win, right? To have the opportunity to win. Now, when you said that you reached out to these people, my question to you is there's two questions. First one is, did again, your situation is different. So
Yes.
it didn't take as long in that scenario, but right off the bat, you know, did they give you a load and say, and I don't know. I mean, and I don't remember, but did they just all of a sudden say, hey, okay, I've got a load, here you go? Or, I mean, you still had to find out more information about what's going on there because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might not be a good fit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For you.
Right. And some
So
of the
you,
loads are not a good fit. But we
right.
talked about what their regular things are that they do. And then during peak seasons, they do
Yeah.
some of these other things.
Yeah.
Um, it's a really, it's an ongoing conversation, really. And we have to have less conversations all the time because I'm starting to see how things work with them, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and for the bigger customer, um, I'm carrier of choice on two different lanes. You know, I get the call before they even get offered to anybody else. So, and we're working on a third one here because this is kind of seasonal stuff and it moves around. So it's transitioned to a different lane that they have a hard time covering, and my drivers kind of seem to like, and it pays really well. So that's a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on that right now, but that'll change too. It'll
Right.
all come full circle, different times of year.
Right.
Um, but if I hadn't have made that phone call, I have a 0% chance of succeeding with
Absolutely.
that, right? So
Absolutely.
back to me doing my part as a carrier.
Right.
That is probably the biggest thing when you have this opportunity offered up. Things are ready. You know, when I called these people, they're like, "Oh, Adam, yeah, why haven't I ever heard of you before?" I'm like, "Well, I'm right down the road from you, but I kind of quiet, keep to myself, whatever."
Yeah.
They're like, "No, this is great." So, uh, if I hadn't called, I'd have been same old, same old.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
And you definitely have to take that next step. And here's the thing. This is what we realized many years ago is that as a carrier, you're very busy, right? You, Adam, others, very busy. Whether you've got one truck or whether you have multiple trucks, right? I mean, because the day
Yes.
is never the same, right?
Yeah.
You can plan your day out, but it's not the same because of all the things that can come up. Now, as you go on, you're going to and you want to grow your business, develop your business. You know, you can knock on a lot of doors, have conversations, and what have you, but you have to make that a part of your journey in terms of communicating with shippers and communicating with different people, right? If there's a point where, let's say, the tire blows out, right? You got to get that taken care of. And what do? You stop everything, right? And then you get that taken care of, right? Now, that might not be a scenario where it's going to take days, weeks, or anything like that to get that thing back up and running. But let's take that same idea, that same concept. When you're talking about growing your business, adding direct shipper opportunities, that's a longer process. But you have to stop and take time
Yeah.
to invest in that, right?
It's not good or bad that it takes longer. That's just what it is.
Right.
Everything, things will change if you've not experienced it before. And I didn't. It's kind of new to me. So if you're running a broker load and something happens, I had a tire blow, like you said, or I don't know, something happened, and you have to
Sure.
call the broker. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna this and that.
Yeah.
They may never use you again. They may leave you a nasty comment on DAT or whatever.
Mm.
If I'm in with a shipper, a direct customer doing that, and I had a narrowly averted crisis like this come up one time, but you have to call them and tell them, deliver them the bad news. They're only about solutions. They're like, okay, what do we got to do? Do you have another truck in the area?
Yeah.
What do we need to do to get this going? We'll reschedule your delivery.
Yeah.
They're not about, because you may have serviced them well on 100 different loads before you had this one,
Yeah.
and they understand. They understand it happens. Because the broker, they got to go back and tell the shipper, and they don't want to get yelled at, and then they're going to yell at you or whatever. They're going to say, "Oh, it's a $300 fine for a missed whatever." You might have that with a direct shipper. There might be a penalty, but really
Yeah.
they just want their load delivered.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
about solving the problem. It's not a
Right.
he said, she said, blaming me and
Right.
blaming this.
Right.
It's I had to wake people up at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
with problems with some
Right.
of their freight, and no fault of my own.
Right.
We're like, oh no, that's my job.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Everything kind of changes, and to sit here and talk about the way everything changes is be a long conversation. It's nobody would be interested in, but it will change your way of thinking and say, okay, let's do more of this. Like
Yeah.
this is way better. This is way better.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, like I said, one of the clients, I mean, in regards to having that conversation, he was like, man, this is great to hear. And it's different. He was really excited about that. And I said, the next call that we make, are you good? You want to go ahead and take the lead on that next call? And he's like, nah, he said, I want to take notes and I want to hear you. Right. And, so I want to keep learning, and that's fine. I'm all about it. I want you to, because it's going to help you. But like you're talking about in terms of that relationship that you have with that new client, right? And how that has gone. When a situation arises, I mean, when I say relationship, I don't limit it just to when we're talking. My mind is not just thinking in terms of the shipper carrier relationship. I mean, I think of personal relationships, And so when we started as Freight Connect, people, would talk about us as being Uber or whatever. Yeah, Uber. But I always related it to, it's like we're a dating matching service, right? We're trying to help match you up with comparable opportunities, or however you want to look at it. I don't know, and I don't know what those sites are that match you up, but it doesn't just right off the bat work, right?
Right.
I mean, the match happens, but then you got to go through some things to see, hey, is this a good fit? And you go through over time, and some things seem to work, and you move on and go to the next and go to the next. And when you are working together, sometimes things don't go as expected, but when things go bad, I look at it as that's an opportunity to strengthen the relationship, right? Now, when things go bad, sometimes you have to bring flowers to the
Yeah.
situation. You have to be like, here, I'm sorry, and bring
Right.
flowers to the relationship. And the flowers may not have cost a lot of money, but hopefully the meaning behind it matters, and you're sincere, right? And if you're developing a relationship, you do that, and then the next time you make sure you have that note, you've taken note.
Yeah.
And you're able then next time to handle things in a different way. When we were a broker, that's what we did. We used to, when situations would come up, I used to always tell people, you know what, give me a chance, because you will never know how I operate until you give me a chance. But honestly, you really won't know how I operate until things are screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't answer my phone, that tells a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if I become solution oriented, that tells a lot, right? And I
Yeah.
don't think you want to walk away from someone who will be solution oriented, because in our industry, things will come up, right? Situations will happen, but we want to be solution oriented. That's what we're claiming to be at service, right?
Yeah.
And so it's again, if I have to then bring flowers to the table, I need to do that. And then in my personal relationships, um, you know, um, it can be challenging, but at some point you need to come to the realization that, that's what you need to do, and do that. And it can go a long way. But at the same time, guess what happens? Hopefully it's helping your character, helping you to develop your character and the character of your company, right? Because that, go
That's a
ahead.
big deal. That's a big deal right there. Because they just remember names like, oh, I want to get XYZ carrier. Oh, we don't want him. They'd fall off of loads, even though you may have fallen off of one, but that's all they remember, because that was
Yeah,
recent.
yeah,
Or do they
yeah,
remember Bob's Trucking because last Friday he fell off a load last Monday, but last Friday I needed a load covered real bad. He didn't really have a truck, but he said he shifted things around a little bit and
yeah,
got a different truck, a different appointment, so he could come and pick up my load.
yeah,
That's how they remember you. You know,
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't have. It can be literal flowers or figurative flowers, right?
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And at that point when we're talking about, like, I think you said, I can't remember what you said, but basically I think it fell along the lines of, what does the shipper want? I mean, they basically want this. There are some out there that say, hey, price is what matters. That's the only thing that matters. And if you have a long enough conversation with them and start digging and what have you, you find out that there's other things that matter, right? And then there
right.
are some that it's all about rate. I mean, if you want to deal with that, fine. But you want to go beyond that. You want to go, even if they tell you that that's all that matters, right? The question then is, how do you go beyond that? How do you get beyond that in terms of your conversation, right? That's the key thing. All right. So, not to promote Freight Connect as far as what I'm about to say, but that is something that we talk about, and that's something we try to promote, and we do promote, and that's what we do. You see what I'm saying? We're not going to just come to you with, hey, can you provide this rate, and then they'll work with you. No, we're going to talk about how do you have conversations with them to get beyond, not just talk about rate. When I'm talking with a shipper and a client and we're on the conference call and we get off the phone and we get back together and kind of regroup and we talk about the call, I ask at some point, when did we talk about rate? You know what? It's so funny because there are some calls where we never talked about rate, and we were on the phone for at least a half an hour, right? There are some calls where the rate did come up, right? But it was the last thing that we talked about, or it was a small part of the conversation.
Right.
You
But
see?
they respect that too because it shows that you're interested in them, their situation, their problem,
That's what
not
they want
just
to talk about.
enriching yourself.
Hmm.
Because they have, listening in on the most recent one you gave me here, he takes a dozen phone calls a day from different brokers and different this and
Yeah,
different that.
right.
Uh, and all is he, what does he say? Oh, they say all this and they say that. Then none of them ask any questions about bothering to even find out what the heck kind of trailer he needs. They're like, oh, we'll take out your freight. We have trucks. How do you know you have a truck? You don't even know what kind of trailer I need. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're on the phone with them for a half hour having these conversations. That's why they're divulging because they see, oh, this guy, he's genuinely interested. He genuinely cares about our needs. Yes, at the end, there's obviously that final negotiation that goes on.
yeah, yeah. I think if I'm pretty sure I know the call that you're talking about. It was, this guy had, like, I don't know, I think he said he worked with 20 brokers, right? And we just let him talk. And I don't even know if during that initial 15 minutes or what have you, that we listened to him, right? If he realized that we were not a broker, right? That we were not engaging as a broker. But ultimately, we did express that no, this company is an asset-based direct carrier. And the client was on the phone and engaging in the conversation. But we did bring that up, and he was like, oh, okay. And even in saying that, it sparked a whole nother conversation that we allowed him to just talk, right? And so we got to hear from him what his perspective was in working with a broker, right? And the benefits of working with a direct shipper, what his concerns were, right? And what he's trying to accomplish and what he likes about working with a direct ship and all these different things, to at another point where he said, you know what, this is good because then I know what you guys are about, so I can reach out to you, right? When this comes up, I can reach out to you, all right? And there was other things that he said about just the fact that, that they don't, majority of their stuff was like flatbed, right? Our client had dry van, but he said, no. Yeah. Cause I asked him, would this make sense for us to even engage? Because our client who's on the phone has dry vans. And he said, no. Yeah. Because we do this and we do that. You see what I'm saying? This information starts to come out.
Yep.
And the question is, how do you get that information out of a client or out of a shipper or prospect? And then how do you navigate through that instead of reverting to how you talk to a broker? You see, it takes time to figure that out on your own. It definitely takes time, even if someone's helping you through that process, but it can be done and it can make a difference for you. Because here's the thing, this is what I've had clients, even yourself. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I've had clients who we had not connected them with a direct shipper, right? We put a bunch of them in front of them and we're still coaching them on how to have those conversations to move to the next step. But there was where their driver was in a facility. Yeah. And then he came back and said, I swear to you, I've had multiple situations where this has happened. And then they said that, they came back and then I was able to have a conversation. I was able to go forward and have a conversation with them. And they would tell me this though, we're supposed to be moving that load for them next week. It might not have been a connection that we made, but it's starting to click here in terms of that opportunity and seeing that opportunity and being able to say, okay, I've got this opportunity. And then at that point, when they're telling me, we're able to listen and then even help coach them through that. Okay, here's the next step, you see, and here's how to go about it, and on and so forth, right?
Right.
And then it's up to them to do what they want. I mean, at that point, I'm not going to say you're right or wrong. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do with that. I can't control that. But again, here's recognizing an opportunity, right? And then going forward. And hopefully the next opportunity that comes up, you're able to recognize it and be able to move forward, or give me a call and say, hey, Paul, this is what's going on. What do you think? Whether you take my advice or not, it's up to you.
For the carrier side, it goes back to, what I was saying before. While you're working on that, me working on my part and being ready. Be ready, because opportunity will present itself. It might take some time. It might happen when you least expect it. So what you were saying with somebody asking my driver, I had a driver picking up a customer load, and my customer happened to be out of the product that they ship. And from time to time, they buy product from another place and resell it as their own. So that's what we were doing. We were at another place picking up. And this place was on my short list of customers to contact eventually when I had available trucks. Not quite ready. Wasn't quite ready at the time. But so he's in there picking up this load, and we've done this often. And they said, we've been seeing your trucks in here from time to time, maybe once a week. Have your boss call me or stop in and drop off a business card. Because, we hire local carriers to do this. We'd kind of like to talk to him. And so he called me immediately, and I'm sitting here at the computer doing some office stuff. And okay. So I immediately printed out a carrier packet, printed out a packet for the brokerage I just started.
Yeah.
And within 15 minutes, I was at their door, walked in and said, hi, I'm Adam. You were talking to my driver here. So I just want to stop off and drop off some information for you. Here's some business cards, and here's my carrier packet with an insurance certificate and references and all this. And then I had said, if you ever have some loads you can't cover and you needed them, we could put some on the spot market for you. And I handed him my brokerage packet, and he took them both and he put them right in front of him in his little binder thing there.
Absolutely.
He says, okay. He says, I happen to need a load covered today. And I'm like, oh, wow. My last truck is here loading for you right now. But I says, I have an agent that works for me in the brokerage. I says, can I have him call you? He's like, yeah, tell him to call me. But we didn't end up covering the load. He found somebody, but we've hauled freight for him since then. Very small amount, because I have 4 direct customers, but I only got 7 trucks. So it's a juggling act of hauling a little bit for everybody to keep them all on the hook while we continue to grow or do whatever. And it is a balancing act, and they're all very patient and appreciative for what we do for them. And they all know that, okay, this is how you get bigger. This is how you proceed. Yeah. So that's where we're at right now. So it does happen. It's just, I was ready, prepared for if it did happen.
Yes.
To where I could immediately act. Like, oh, I walk in and they're like, oh, that didn't take long. I'm like, yeah, as you know, I'm just down the street, a few miles.
Right.
And this is what we do. So they were appreciative, and we've done business since then. And that's going to, I think, over time turn into something bigger because they're a busy place. Yeah. And I already know what their regular everyday lanes are. Yeah. So and back to the point, with the broker versus customer thing too. I've been, the drivers have been learning to kind of appreciate it also. They're liking it. Okay. Even though sometimes it might be a little bit less money, but here's what it is. It's consistent, and you're not. Oh, we got $4,800 on that load last week. Why are we only getting $3,700 this week? Yeah. It's that same rate, and they know the routes. They know what to expect from where they're picking up, what to expect where they're delivering. Mm-hmm. It's easy on and off freight. Yeah. And they know that when they get back here, they can get another one. Mm-hmm. It's not a big hunting thing. And volume is picking up. It's getting to be the busy time of year for all that. So, it's they understand.
Do you realize what you just hit upon? I mean, there's so many things that you said, man. I jotted a couple of notes, and I think I need to hold on a second. Okay, hold on. Okay, here's the thing. There is where you said where you were prepared, right? I remember many years ago, this guy I really respected. He was my sales manager. I was with this company I worked with. I was a sales agent, and I got to the point where I was about to get fired. I had a month to go to really develop my numbers. I'm like, you guys spring this on me all of a sudden. Why didn't you tell me a while ago? And it's like, whatever. I just got to do what I got to do, And so I hit my numbers, right? And people were like, Paul, why are you not chatting and talking to us and what have you? I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just focused, right? So when you get focused, right, there are things that can happen. I positioned myself, right, to become successful. I did what I had to do. And then ultimately, guess what happened? Within a certain time period, I became, I got promoted. And so the team that I was on, I became the lead of that team. I became the manager of that team. And then my boss, she moved up to the next level, right? And but you have to do, what it is that you have to do. So when we're talking about opportunities that exist, the opportunity may come, but if you're not prepared, right, you're going to miss it. But if you're prepared, if you've been going to seminars, if you've been taking courses, whether they cost or didn't cost, you have to be cautious of both sides of that. But as long as you're preparing yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Why would I want to go and look for a big screen TV and there's these 2 salespeople, and one is or even a car or whatever the case is, and one seems to be pretty knowledgeable about cars, but yet he's taking in, or she is taking into what's important to me, and they know about the vehicles, and they're able to bring that together, right, and tell me some things that are important to me, right? Where the other one might just be knowledgeable, right? The other one might not be knowledgeable, but they're listening to me. But this other person is prepared. They have the knowledge, they're listening to me, and they know how to bring those two together. For me, it might cost a little more, but I want to be over here. As time goes on, there's some things that come up and I need some help, and he's servicing me, right? Because I had a situation where I had a key fob and I think the battery went out on it. Something happened to it, and I went into him. He sold me a car, and he looked away from me when I came in. Hey, can you help me out here? I didn't know what was wrong with it, but he looked away and he said, "Oh man," he said, I can't. Do you know how much it's gonna cost me to help take care of this situation?" He literally told me that, and I said, "What?" I never talked to him again. When I would go into the dealership every now and then, he was like, "Paul, why do you ignore me?" I said, "Really?" And I walked away. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I had a buddy that worked there, and I was just happened to be there. And he said, "Hey, Paul, how you doing?" And we just conversated, and I told him my situation. He said, "Hey, come on over here. I think I got something in my car here." And I said, "Oh, how much do I owe you?" "No, here, just take it." What? I was like, "Really?" "Yeah, here you go." It was a CD changer that I had, and and I had lost the cartridge, and he had an extra one, and he gave it to me. Really? You see that service? Guess what? That little thing that he did kept me loyal to him,
Right.
not to that other guy in the same dealership, right? He was a sales manager at that point. No, he got promoted. My friend got promoted to sales manager, right? But and think about it. This guy is still a sales guy, right? The other guy got promoted. You see how he handled things,
Right.
I believe, took him to the next level. But when we talk about preparation, how do I deal with situations that come up? If I'm prepared and they come up, right, that can make all the difference in the world. They call that luck, I think is what they say. When preparation
Yeah.
is opportunity, they call it luck. So I can look at it as luck, as just luck of the draw. But in a lot of situations is that one person's prepared, the other one's not. What's the mental thought process? You know what I mean? Do I see opportunity in this situation, and how do I handle that? Or do I see it as a problem? Right? That makes
and being able to hear the word no but continue on. So
yeah.
you're not going to hear a yes every time.
Yeah, right.
You're going to have brokers tell you no. Do you pick up the phone and call the next broker, or do you call that broker back someday?
Right.
It's not a one and done. It's definitely not a one and done. None of this is. Thanks everybody for being in the chat here today. I really appreciate it. Got a couple super chats here at Fate Trucking and Cash is King Trucking. Appreciate that. We're talking to Paul from Freight Connect about direct shipper freight. And this is probably the fourth or fifth conversation we've had, and we're just kind of hashing out some details and maybe some issues that have come up along the way that people have talked about. Maybe it's a little bit discouraging. Purpose of this is so you don't get discouraged, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's multiple ways to go about this. This is not a world where you hear yes every time, and I tell you what, it's easy to give up. You know what I mean? So we've established that you'll get these warm opportunities for people, put it in their lap, and for whatever reason, sometimes circumstance, personal problem, whatever, but for whatever reason, there's no follow up. Well, in some instances, it's easy to give up. It's easy to quit. It's hard to do the hard things. It's not pleasant sometimes. It's scary. I know that it's scary because I've done them. Am I over being scared about it? No. It's hard to talk to a complete stranger and tell them why they should talk to you, to even take your call sometimes. Okay. It is scary. for me. It's second nature for you, obviously, but it's easy to give up, and I don't want to see people do that because I've had experience with this. I've done this. It's I can't imagine. Well, I wouldn't have known any different if I hadn't have followed through or said no. But I can't imagine still being in the same rut that I was before. Like it might be the best opportunity that I've ever had for my business, and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for what you and your company have done, but I'm glad that I stepped up and had the courage to follow through with it. It wasn't easy. It's getting easier. It's getting easy. It's gonna get easier. Riding a bike isn't easy the first time. You're gonna get it. But when you're handed these opportunities, these warm opportunities, they're green light projects, is what they are. Step up. Go above your comfort level. Don't be afraid. You might hear no. You might not.
Yeah.
But you're not in business, because you're the type of person that's afraid to take a risk,
Right.
or do unpleasant things, because being in business is full of unpleasant things.
Yeah.
This is just one more of them, but this is one that can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what, Adam, and that's a great point, because if you think about it, two things. One, a lot of times we look back on things, 2020 hindsight, and then we're like, man, I wish I had done this, right? Or I wish I had done that. In regards to this here, we can look back and say, man, I wish I had made that call, right? I wish I had stayed on top of that account, or I wish, you know what I'm saying? Don't give yourself that opportunity to say that. I mean, I understand it's challenging. You got a lot of things going on and what have you. But if you have figured out that, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish, right? In regards to my business, I want to develop a stronger foundation. Brokering and working with brokers and all that good stuff. I do not say anything against it. And the reason being is, one, I was on the broker side. I know what they do. No, I'm not going to say that. I know what we did, right, as a broker. Right. Secondly, I know that, hauling freight and what have you, that ain't easy, right? In terms of, because there's a lot of stuff that I've not experienced, but yet I respected what carriers do, going out. I mean, there's been times as a carrier's gone out to make a pickup, and all of a sudden they got there and it was like, this is not going to work because this is what they need, right? And I feel so bad. I felt so badly about it. I remember one time I was in church and I got a call. I had to step out and take the call. And the carrier said, Paul, this is what they need. This is not, the equipment that I provide, blah, 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 and on and so forth. And he gave me the lowdown. And immediately I thought, wow, you know what? I need to really give them as much information, or even get the carrier on the phone and the broker on the phone, or the shipper on the phone and the carrier on the phone. And then we talk about certain situations so that we can get that expert insight from the carrier, right? And make sure this is going to work, right? Yes. So that is where we went with it, because it makes a difference. Now, you as a carrier, you want to develop a direct relationship. It takes that communication, that meaningful communication, to make sure it's going to work. I'll just give you one quick example. We were working as a broker. I had a client. They did flowers. They were out of Florida, had a location in Chicago and some other locations, and I think West or in Virginia or something like that. But they were really focused on the money thing, right? We were about the service, right? And they had, during a certain time of the year, 40 drops. Oh, not one. Not 10, not 20, not 30, but 40. Now, us being naive in the sense that, oh, we'll do whatever, right? We'll just do what it takes, right? And what we did was, but this was our client, right? And this was the thing that they needed done. We took it upon ourselves, okay, to figure out what needs to happen. We talked to carriers and we found out what their concerns were and things like that, right? We go back to the shipper. We find out, we let them know, and we find out what their needs are and all this. So we take in all this information and we're like, okay, and we knew what the time frame was, and we worked to map it out. I mean, we mapped this thing out, and it was going through the Midwest, going, from Oklahoma to Kansas to here to there and what have you, but 40 drops. And we didn't know what to expect other than what the information we had, that was all that we were working with. But I think we even communicated with maybe all 40 locations, I think, just to, find out what the consistencies were, inconsistencies were, and all that good stuff. Now, the carrier said to us, hey, you know what, we'll do it, but here are our concerns, and let's see how it goes, right? All right. The one key thing was at every point that you get, call us. We want to confirm, make sure that everything went well, right? And I'm like, when they started moving product, we were like, well, okay, I haven't had a call from anyone, so let's initiate that call. Let's be proactive. Let's find out what's going on, even if it's a problem, right? Did they even pick up? We don't know. So we made those calls, and what we found out was, when they were supposed to have made the maybe the second or third stop or whatever, they were already at the 10th stop.
Wow.
And they were like, no, Paul, everything's going fine. Oh, okay. Can you just keep me updated? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. And then when it was all done, guess what happened? They called us back and said, all right, when's the next one? Oh, wait a minute. I thought that we were going to regroup, after the whole, after the first, and then talk about it, and then see what the problems were and what have you, make sure everything was, now when's the next one, right? And this was because we did our homework, right? And we laid it all out, and we did as much as that we thought that we could do to be prepared. Maybe we over prepared. I don't know. But this is what we did. And these carriers came back to us willing to do another 36 to 40 drops, right? To me, at that point, guess what? It was like, okay, this is no big deal. But yet, for other people, it would be a big deal because they have not, maybe they have been challenged with maybe even dropping 10, having 10 drops, 15 drops, but they did not have a good situation, right?
Right.
It wasn't a good experience. But guess what? There is a way to make it a good experience. So for us, we go that, if you want to call it extra mile or whatever the case may be, we go that next level to help to understand what needs to be done in order for this to be the best possible experience, right? Meaning communicating with shippers direct, how to go about getting that freight, and understanding that it doesn't happen just overnight. But here's the thing, it can happen, right? Because one, other people are doing it, have done it.
Right.
Do you think that, these major companies that you talk about, I mean, I knew a company that I worked with as a broker. Before I got there, I was like around the 100th, so to speak, 100th employee, right? Prior to that, at some point, like a year or two before that, they only had 5 employees. Wow. Then they went to 100. And then, let's see, about 7 years later, they were at over 600 employees. By the time they sold the company, they were at 1,400, which was about, let me see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 7 years later. So they doubled, the years, and they went from 600 to 1,400 employees and sold it for multi-$100 million, right? The company, right?
Right.
Went on to do other things, bigger and better things. Now they had this huge credibility, right? And they were able to do pretty much what they wanted, meaning this individual, right, that had started this company. So again, the opportunity is there. You have to prepare yourself, position yourself, right? And hopefully we can be a part of helping you to position yourself, right? Whether it's having that conversation, right, with the shipper, and hopefully it helps you to start thinking outside of just what you've always done, which was maybe working with brokers, because the other side, it's different. And I don't mean that it's better. I will never say that. I will say that it's different, right? And you make the decision as to what's better for you. You see what I mean?
Right.
what you want to do, but it is different, and that's what we want to help to get you to see psychologically so that you can approach things in a way that can benefit you. And that's where your part comes in.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we talked about that, and I don't mean to monopolize the whole show with it, but
Right.
it's come to my attention that some folks are, saying to others that, well, haven't had success with it, or I don't hear people are having success with it. And number one, I'm here to tell you that you can, if you approach it right and give it time. I think you will. But the biggest thing is I want to make sure that people that want to do this are doing the best they can to set themselves up for success and doing your part. There is a part that you play in it as a carrier. Okay. And the more you do, the more you participate, the more you're ready, the better odds are you're going to have success.
Sure.
I wanted to talk about that. I didn't want to take up the whole show. So let's let's move on to something else.
Yeah, sure.
Crazy world we're living in. You've said multiple times, system is breaking down. These things are happening, these volumes, the ports, this and that. You've been right about pretty much all of it. I'll give you that. And what in the heck is going on right now? The system is it's in tough shape, isn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, man. Because like back when we were talking, and I was talking about that it's going to break. Just the signs were there. There were just so many things, and there still are so many things that are going on, right? Like some people will say COVID, it's not COVID that is creating these situations. It's and I've seen the video and I had seen it a while ago. It's the systems that are in place. It's, they're not basically efficient or, conducive for what's going on right now. Absolutely not. If you think about it, we get comfortable with the way things are, right? I mean, you can even get comfortable in a relationship, right? I'm talking about your personal relationships, right? You get comfortable and things go on as they go on. But then when there's some disruption, some things come to light, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that disruption says, you know what? This ain't new. This isn't this situation. The reason why we're having these problems is not because it's new, is because just that the disruption has brought it to light, right? And now it's at a point where it's got to be addressed, right? We have to address this issue. So with the shipping situation, it's the same thing, right? Like I said, I go to the personal, and I'm able to understand some things when it comes to business and all and what have you. So because we're just people, you know what I mean? We're all people. So if you can't get around people, then you have to deal with people. So here's the thing with the industry, a disruption came about and it exposed some things, right? It exposed how processes are inefficient, especially when you get to a point where we're overwhelmed, right?
Yes.
I mean, think about this. When it's kind of like this, as people, when we encounter things that we don't normally have to encounter, when we encounter things that overwhelm us, right? When we are in line and we're pressed for time and things seem to be going slow up front, or somebody asks us a certain question and it's just not comfortable, we may show our colors. I mean, we don't have to get all into that, but we end up showing who we really are when things are difficult, right? So the whole system in terms of transportation, economy, and all that, the colors are being shown. It's like, oh man, here's a disruption and things are difficult and what have you. And so the system can't handle certain things, right? And whether it is at the port, freight that's coming in from overseas, whether it is things that are here on domestically, there was always a talk. How long has there been a talk about a driver shortage?
Way bigger fish to fry right now, my friend. Way bigger fish to fry.
Absolutely. So We have here where we're talking about all this freight, the Yantian port over in China, right? Where it's one of their major port areas where freight is moved. I mean, we import a lot of stuff. We give a lot of money to China, right, to get a lot
Right.
of stuff. And China, over there, they want to get they've opened up. They had the COVID strike, so to speak, where COVID was a big deal. And this is about a month ago, I think. I can't remember. But they had a situation where they were shut down. I think they were at 30% capacity. And now they're back up 100%. This might have been, a couple of weeks ago or so. So now they're moving freight and getting freight to move. And they want to move it because stuff has been backed up. Even at the manufacturer, there's
Right.
stuff that's been backed up and they need to get that out and move it. And then guess what also needs to happen? Right now, compared to last year or the year before, it's completely different in how shippers are or should be thinking about the holiday season. They need to be thinking about that right now, right?
Yes.
If they want to get this stuff on the shelf and be prepared. I went to a store, a local national chain, to go buy some at the last minute, some Christmas gifts last year. And I went in and I thought they were going out of business. They said, no, we just can't get stuff in.
Wow.
So this year, imagine how that might look if we take the attitude that we took last year. They need to start getting stuff in now. And that's what's happening. There are shippers that are working on that. And that's just for the holiday season. I mean, they still need to work to build up inventory. So at the Yantian port, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be pushed out and gotten over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, guess what else happens? Price goes up because the demand is so high,
Right.
right?
And
So
they know that things aren't really getting any better. So they're having to plan far out. Like these, equipment shortages, trucks, trailers, what have you.
Yeah.
Parts are an issue. There's going to be equipment going out of service for parts. These chips we've been waiting so long for and so important for these vehicles,
Yeah.
they're not really coming.
They don't move fast. The
No,
development, they don't. It
no,
takes time.
no, they're not really coming.
Right.
So, hey, we better start worrying about Christmas freight, 5 months ahead of time now, 6
Right.
months ahead of time. Um,
Right.
Candy, I've been noticing candy is moving like crazy right now, like chocolate and stuff like that. So
Really?
that's thanks
Okay.
Halloween freight,
Right.
in
Oh, yeah.
uh, Thanksgiving. I'm wondering if some of it might be Easter freight for next year, but I've been seeing candy moving like crazy. So they're planning because they have very high paid people that know these things. We got to realize it too. Things
Yeah.
aren't really, capacity is not growing. It's
Yeah.
still kind of shrinking,
Yeah.
but volumes are still rising, 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 which will continue to be busy for us. Drive rates higher unless somebody steps in. Good, great government steps in to save us all from ourselves. Kind of
Mhm.
worry about that, but
Right. Right.
it's the best I can say about it right now as far as a prediction. Things don't really seem to be changing much for the better.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, there's different ways of looking at things. And, I've seen some groups get together and they talk about the situation at hand now. I mean, different companies and at different levels and what have you, people at different levels. And the thing is that, we're all saying the same thing and that it's broken. That's, I think, the term I've used with you,
Right.
for the longest, is that things are going to break, and things are broken. And maybe at some point they need to take a season and say, all right, let's forego that season just to get caught up. Right. And we start reading about stuff, I think I've sent you some articles and what have you. And they're talking about even after 2000, when we hit 2022, after the holiday season, it's still going to be moving like crazy because companies are still going to be trying to get caught up,
Yeah.
So we're going to see freight moving along. And then there are the vessels being purchased, ordered, that won't be ready, I think, maybe till 2023. We have containers. Containers are at a shortage.
Yeah.
And they're being built, and their prices have gone from, I don't know, 12, 1,500 on up to 35, 3,800 for the containers, right? The cost of container movement from overseas is skyrocketed. And this is all, when we go backwards and we look at it, what's causing it? Okay, supply and demand, right? Okay, well, what's causing that? Okay, well, you got the consumer. The consumer is making these decisions, right? And we need to be, okay, what about, where are they getting the money from, right? Okay, and what has conspired here to create all this? Now, I don't know who created COVID. I couldn't tell you, but COVID kind of helped kick all this off, right? So it's, we look at these basic things, right? And we can make it as difficult as we want to think about. But I look at it as this way. Okay, I think it was GM, but there are some major companies that started in times of chaos.
Right.
And we're at a time of chaos, and you have an opportunity. And again, I'll say it again. I hate that COVID came about, right? But again, there's still a need, and people are showing that need, and things are happening. So how do you position yourself, right, to help in that situation, to be to take opportunity in those advantage of the opportunities that exist? In the end, your company could be, maybe it was here when COVID hit. But as time goes on, you elevate because you start to notice things that are going on, all these things that we're talking about, and you take advantage of the environment, right?
Yeah, right.
When I say advantage, I don't mean to take advantage of people. You know what I mean? I'm talking about how can I be of support here? How can I help? How can I build my company, to a point where, even after COVID, whatever that means, I can still be relevant. And that means helping those that I've initiated contact with, but you have to talk, you have to have the mindset, and to be able to have those conversations, right? So that they are then seeing you as a value to them beyond what's going on right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think at a certain point, everybody works a little different. I think some people, to get them to change or open mind or do something different, it takes that they have to been gone through some bad stuff. Okay. And I've been around since well before the pandemic hit, and I still learned a lot from it. I don't want to go through that again. That was not fun for me. Almost, it could have put me out of business as a single truck independent. Had I had the freight that I have now, then would have made it much better. But I want to make it very clear to people. A lot of people are new to the authority game and building a carrier since just last fall, when things started to reopen, and have never seen anything but these great rates. Is it going to last for a while? Probably. Forever? No. When this is gone, and if we go through another year like last spring and summer, you will be devastated. You have the opportunity right now in front of you. There has never been a better opportunity in the trucking industry in my lifetime, or as long as I've been in this 22 years, that somebody like me with one truck at the time could go to a shipper and not only be successful, but say, yeah, more. They want to talk to you. There's the opportunity I don't think has ever been there for this. Am I missing that?
Not at this level. No. I mean, the freight volume is historic, right? And then when you talk about the semiconductor chip, you think about it. Go back to here. I'll put it to you this way. I remember. Okay, I might be an old guy, but when I got my first car, I worked on it. I'm not that guy. I don't work on cars and things like that. But I did my own oil change, and I changed the gear shifter, and I did some other things, and it was pretty exciting. I had the little manual, and I learned some things. But this was pre-internet, before the internet, right? So I had to read a manual and learn these things, and all and so forth. But then when I got my first brand new car with 0 miles on it, there were some electronic things on there. Nothing like today, right?
Right.
But I said, I'm not going to work on that. No way. So I had to take it in for anything that needed to be fixed or looked at, or what have you, because I didn't understand what these little lights meant. Um, Today, the advancement is ridiculous. The advancement on these vehicles. I mean, you have internet connection, I believe, on these vehicles. You've got, the cameras, and you've got all this communication. You've got where they can tell a insurance company, your driving habits and all these different things. And the semiconductor chip is a part of all this, right?
Right.
So it's a major integral part of developing a vehicle, mileage and all that. And when I say a vehicle, not just a car, but a truck even, right? So it's a situation, if you have a shortage, there's a shortage in that, it's going to impact. I mean, the auto industry right now, it had a bad hit when the pandemic hit, but it took a huge rebound and people started buying vehicles, right? Well, now they can't get their hands on these new vehicles, and they're having to settle for either like used vehicles, which has caused the price to go up, or wait on the cars to come in. And even some people have prepaid. I know this, for a vehicle, waiting for it to
Yeah,
come
I've heard
in.
that too. Yeah.
And then you also have, and you know about this in regards to trucks, looking all over the place, trying to find what you need, trailer wise, power wise. And then right now I heard my friend who's in the the dealership business, he said that they've got an order for like 62 trucks coming in, and he said, or cars coming in. And he said, there must be some vehicles that are getting the chips, that are out there. So they're planning to get some new cars in for their lot. My point is that these things make a difference, right? And then how do they hit you? How do they hit you as a carrier? How do they hit you as a shipper? Like you said, that call that you heard, there are shippers. There's other calls, tons of calls that I've been on, where they know there's something going on and they're starting to talk about stuff they never talked about before. Because one guy asked us about the driver shortage. He said, how are you dealing with it? Meaning my client. My client didn't necessarily answer him directly, kind of touched upon it, but we went back to it and we talked about it. And that was important to him. And we had the conversation because he's had other conversations, and we wanted to hear what this conversation was that he had, right? Not to, well, just so that we know what he's hearing, but at the same time, is he getting good information? You know what I'm saying? Because people can be getting all these different information, but we want to then position ourselves as, hey, look, we can be a resource for these things. When you hear this or hear that, we want you to feel confident in coming to us and being able to say, this is what I've heard. What do you think? You see what I'm saying? When you can position yourself, gain knowledge, and be able to talk to these people that way, they start to trust you and they start to want to work with you. You see what I'm saying?
Be their authority.
Be that authority. And, it's not a situation of, hey, I know everything. But at the same time, you might say, I don't know, let me find out. And when you do that and you come back to them, right, they're like, all right. He's kind of my go-to guy then, maybe even to fact check, because I know how he'll handle things. Maybe that's how he'll handle my freight. If something comes up, right, then he will, or she will figure out how to make this thing work or how to make it better. Or you see what I'm saying? This is the guy I need to go to, or this is the gal I need to go to. So there's all these things that are out there. The semiconductor chip, it's an issue. It's a real issue, along with a lot of other things. But how does Adam, how does Paul, how does Sally, how does whomever, how do they, what's their perspective? And does it really resonate with me to the point where, you know what, maybe it's a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, 4 months later, you know what, I just need to work with this guy or gal, right? Here's the freight, you see?
Right.
So it's
something built over time is going to last way longer than, something built in a day. It's just like building a building. It might take you a month to pour the foundation.
Yeah.
That building's going to stand strong for hundreds of years.
Absolutely. And that's what you want, I think. I mean, when we talk to our clients, that's what we talk about. And I think that's what they want. And hopefully as time goes on, you know, whatever it is that they may do, whether they continue to work with us or not, hopefully that, you know, there are some things that we're able to provide that can help them with the next chapter in their journey. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
It does. You know, it keeps coming back full circle in my mind. So I just want to talk about it for a minute. A lot of this is psychological. Like the whole sales thing is deeply psychological. Succeeding in business, being prepared, having courage. The one thing keeps playing over in my head that people will tell you over and over you can't do something, and I think a lot of that is because they can't do it. It's a natural human tendencies that people don't want to see you do better than they can do.
Okay.
And that may come from your friends,
Yeah.
or anybody. You know, it's some kind of proven thing that, you know, over the course of 5 years, your income will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure you've heard that before.
I think so. Yeah.
And this is kind of for the people watching, that if people are telling you you can't do things like this, it doesn't work. Maybe they've had some issues where it hasn't worked for them, or they don't think they can do it. But it's natural human tendencies that they don't want somebody they know, they don't want to see them do better than they can do or they are doing. Don't fall for that. Don't be a part of that. You can do it. If you want to do it, you should do it, or you should at least try. And if you feel like this ain't for you, try it on your own. You know what? In fact, for some people, that might be the appropriate thing to do, is start trying to make some cold calls on your own. And it might help you be more honest with yourself to say, you know what? I'm not good at this. This is what it might help you discover if this is what you really want, number one. And then number two, you might say, I'm not great at this. I'm not the best guy for it. Maybe I do need somebody on my side that's really good at it.
Right.
That will change your whole approach to it.
Right.
For number one, you'll understand what Paul and his company does. And number two, it might make you participate to say, okay, how can I assist in this? How can I help? How can I help myself be successful?
Right.
But for people that are telling you you can't, you shouldn't, it doesn't work, don't bother. Just you do you. You know, if you want something for your business, you go get it. You try it.
Yeah.
Everyone else be damned. I want to support you in it. Like, for whatever I can do. I don't know. I don't really do that, what you do, but I can only provide information and do things like this. There's tons of people out there to support you in anything you want to do. Maybe it's a matter of getting some of that, like Tony Robbins type stuff, where they prepare you, your state of mind, where maybe not him, but somebody, prepare your mind for success, prepare your mind for, you know, I'm going to make this call. I'm going to build up the courage today to make this call.
Yeah.
I know it's a big deal. That's not a big deal to you. You do it every day.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like to be, for lack of a better word, say paralyzed with fear. I've had it happen to me.
100%. I get it. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that if you make that call, you won't be successful. It's right there for you.
Yeah.
So maybe then if you're scared to make the call, you go over here and find somebody that can help you with conquering that fear of making that phone call. Maybe you go see a psychologist. I don't know, whoever you got to do, but conquer that fear of making that phone call.
Yeah.
So that if that's what you want, that's how you get it, and you will eventually get it.
Right.
Because conditions are prime for it right now. It's prime conditions. If you can't do it now, you can, in 3 years from now, 4 years, whatever, when things aren't in our favor, it's going to be harder then. Now is the easy time for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely would say this, that, you know, if I got into a business, let me put it this way. If you know, a certain thing goes on sale, oranges, I don't know, it just comes to mind, oranges, and everybody, you know, is like, man, oranges are great. And then all of a sudden they go on this great sale, right? There's just this amazing sale and everybody's trying to get them, right? Or you can think of an electronic product, whatever it is that you're really excited about, and it goes on sale, and you'll be motivated to move, to go get it, right? Black Friday, you know, when things go on sale. There's always this mad rush to get the deal, right? And you'll fight for it. People stand in line. You might not understand it. Some of us might not understand that, why people are standing in line. Everybody's motivated by whatever they're motivated by, right?
Right.
But you are in line and you wait and to get it. And by the time you get up, it might be gone because you didn't get up early enough to get that front spot. You weren't willing to stand overnight. You know, you might think that's ridiculous. That's for crazy people and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
And you know what? And here's the thing. And here's the thing. Someone else is willing to do that.
Right.
So if I want to get my company to a certain level, what are you willing to do for that? You see
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And people come to things like this for information. They want to hear what you have to say. Some people want to hear what I have to say, whatever. I say business, don't it's difficult. It's not easy.
No.
It shouldn't really be easy. Like Paul says, be prepared to do things that are unpleasant and that other people wouldn't be willing to do. When you look at these super athletes, these people that run these 100-mile marathons. Absolutely. He's like, yeah, I'm willing to go into kidney failure for it. Like I want it more than you. I'm gonna beat you. You know, you don't necessarily have to kill yourself to do it, but you know, sometimes it's working 18 hours a day, or taking a class that you might find really boring that helps you, or getting some coaching. Hey, how bad do you want it? How bad, you know, the opportunity is astonishing, but you think that, you know, old JB Hunt didn't have some fearful moments when he was starting off? I tell you what, I bet there was a lot of sleepless nights.
You don't even have to go to JB Hunt. I mean, here's what I'll say is this. If you, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I think you've been pretty transparent about all this, right? And you put it out there. So I'll just put this out there and you say as much as you want about it. You not so long ago had one truck, and the person that was in that truck was you,
right?
And currently we're talking about 7 trucks. Am I right? Right.
Yeah.
And then 4 direct shippers, what have you. And so obviously that's now. My question is, were you just like all gun ho where, all right, with no fear, right, to do a thing to achieve what you have achieved so far, although this is not where your target is beyond where you're at now, right? You did those things out of fear, right? But you're willing to learn, right? And you're still doing them and you're still learning. At the same time, there are challenges that you may be dealing with, but it's a part of the process in terms of learning. So when we stop right now and take a snapshot of the past, I'll just go, let's say just since January, I'll just, you know, cover that period and look at it and say, okay, here's where I was, here's where I'm at now. If I never took that leap through the fear, would I be where I'm at? One. Secondly, you know, have I grown? You know, grown in terms of, you know, I'm at a different level. You know, I'm not in that one truck, me driving mindset. You know, there's a whole nother thing for me to think about, and I'm better for this, even if it's challenging. And then at some point, maybe a year down the road, I'll be at another point. But this is what I'm going through, or I have to go through, you know, and I'm going to grow for that. And other people will look at me, and hopefully I'll be able to cater back to, information to them that will help them as they go through. You see what I'm saying? There's
a lot of questions there. There's a lot of, a lot of things I could talk about. Would I be here where I am now if I hadn't learned to deal with the fear? Absolutely not. Do I still deal with the fear day to day, every day? Every day. I still have sleepless nights. I still get in moments of almost panic. You know, it has changed me. It's made me grow up a lot in my business, mature in my business, to look at things a different way. You know, I'm not behind the wheel. I can't just run more miles that day to make up for it. Okay. I've had to learn to manage people, juggle drivers, customers, equipment, every aspect of it that goes with it, large amounts of money. Okay.
Yeah.
I've had to mature a lot business wise, and my trucking company is not for YouTube. I do things like this because I so many people think it's not possible. They can't do it.
Yeah.
I want to set the example. As corny
Yeah.
as that, that
No.
sounds corny.
Uh,
I want
no.
to set the example that
Yes.
you can do it.
Yes.
This can be done. You should try it. If
Absolutely.
it's what you want, if you've ever thought about it,
Yeah.
now's the time to try it.
Right.
I still, day to day, I'll wake up in the morning, man, this is the greatest thing in the world. Thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity. 10 minutes later, oh man, I'm selling everything. Oh geez, I'm going out of business. 15 minutes later, oh, what was that? That was I so worried about. This is so bad. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? I got to call someone. I got to tell this customer this didn't work out. Or I'm going to be late. Or
Yeah.
It's every day's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Does that ever change? I don't know. I don't know that it does ever change. Maybe to a certain point when I am able to hire somebody to delegate, maybe I can shift some responsibilities to somebody else so that it doesn't have to be such a roller coaster. Because it's if I didn't know what was going on, I would think I was bipolar because the swings, the roller coaster, literally, and you probably deal with this in your business to some extent.
Yeah.
Things can go from the best day ever to the worst day like that. Okay.
Sure.
I could tell you some stories, but not without giving away too many details, so I can't. But it's a wild ride every day.
Oh yeah.
And that's not for YouTube. This is the part that's for YouTube, is trying to set some kind of an example or some kind of just to bring this stuff out. Because before we started doing this, I don't think anybody has ever talked about this direct freight thing. On this kind of level and offered a service like this. And I thank you for that. It's helped me. It's helped me grow as a person, Still at the bar, occasionally we're going to tell stupid jokes and laugh and act stupid. But you got to have a release. You got to have an unwind at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see, and please forgive me, I am so bad at, let me just tell you one of my downfalls, so to speak. To multitask, and people can talk about me if they want. That's not my best suit. Somebody years ago told me, what are you trying to do? And it was a female. She was on my team. And I was like, I'm doing this and doing that. She said, men can't multitask, right? And I was like, and at that point, for some reason, ever since, I've not been able to multitask. It's like, it's a challenge of mine. So for me, us talking, I'm absorbed with what we're talking about, and I don't necessarily see the comments, right? And so I just took a notice, and where is he at? Alex, I think it was Alex. Is it? Where is it? And at any rate, it says, or Alex Express is saying, it's a love-hate relationship, trucking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely go through that, and that's the same way with any relationship that you have, in the sense that it's not going to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have situations where, you're concerned all night. You're going to have a situation where you had a situation the week before, and it takes a week to get through it, to talk to the person, and on and on and so forth. Now, when we look at business and people say, hey, leave the personal stuff out, right? Okay. Definitely leave the personal stuff out, deal with the business, and you know what I'm saying? Do your business. But we have to remember that people are people, right?
Yeah, but in this business, it's all people.
It's all people, right? And we have to. Go ahead.
When I decided to do this, I'm like, okay, I've been a driver for 21 years, 22 years. I know every driver's complaint, every single one of them about the place they work for. I think to a certain extent, some of it I can change. A lot of it you can't, because it's what somebody has built up in their own head. So in trying to stick to that, now a lot of it, the drivers are the ones that do the work. They haul the loads. My drivers do a good job. We have a lot of conversations that the typical carrier driver wouldn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
And I give them information. They might
Yeah.
not always get all of it at first, but over time they're like, oh, okay, I see. When you tell me to call a broker and tell them this, or or follow up with this or do that, I see where it makes a difference now because people are starting to remember us by name. They tell me, they take the time out to say thanks and, can you do this again?
Right.
They see where it makes a difference, so they're willing
Right.
to do it. And really, it's in their pocket. You know,
Mm.
we can we can get more money on certain things because of the level of
Mhm.
service that the drivers, are providing. I can
Yeah.
coach them all I want, do this and that, but it's up to them to get the job done, and they do a good job and get it done. So,
Yeah.
and I compensate them pretty fairly, I think, and have built, left all the nonsense out,
Yeah.
and I think that both sides like it, appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's following up on your word also.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
um, everything changes. Put it that way.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I mean, it's if you are, and it depends on what you want out of whatever you're engaged in, and there's sacrifices that you have to make, so to speak. There's things that you have to do. There's your part, and it's not always gimme, gimme, gimme. So you can always take, take, take.
Right.
It's like give and receive, or however you want to look at it. But be pure to what you're trying to accomplish. And there's going to be situations where the relationship might not be the best, right? And so
Yeah.
therefore you have to look at that and make a decision. Like FedEx, was it? Yeah, FedEx. They came out and they let go of 1,400 customers at some point earlier this year, and that didn't go over well, right? Because
Well,
they ended up stepping on
tell
the toes of some big. Mhm.
tell me that's not a tough decision to make.
You got to make the decision, right?
Yeah.
You
I
have to
mean,
make
that
the
had to
decision.
be agonizing.
When you make that decision, guess what? There's going to be some fallback, and then even at that point, you have to regroup and figure out what the next decision is to make. Now, that's the way. That's business, right?
Yeah.
That's business. Now, you hopefully don't make a decision that's just going to tank your company, right? So you want to be
Right.
smart about it, but that doesn't mean that you're trying to take advantage of people. At the same time, providing the best service that you can is taking on every opportunity. No, it might be exploring those opportunities and at the same time learning from those experiences, right? And then again, knowing who you are, what your company is all about, and even that takes time, right? That can take time.
Yes.
But what we're doing is, let me put it this way: I go to school. I start in preschool, wherever it is, first grade, second grade, and on and so forth, right? As I grow into that, I'm just receiving information. That's all. I'm absorbing. I'm being a sponge because ultimately, at least me personally, or hopefully my parents are supportive. It's about what it is I want to do, but I don't know yet. You see, I have no clue. And hopefully at some point I'll figure it out. And that might not be, maybe when I'm 18, maybe 16, maybe 13, maybe 25, maybe, I can go to college. I might not go to college, but I had to figure it out. So all these experiences are to help me figure out, not just figure out what I want to do, but who am I? What am I
Yes.
about? And on and so forth. These experiences help. And it may take me to another point where it's like, okay, I've got this new experience. But when I look back, all these experiences that I've had have helped mold me or even have helped me figure things out. Right.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about business here, it's not much different. It's I'm in business and I'm doing this and trying to do this. And why am I doing this? Why? Is it for my family? Is it for this? Is it for that? Or even is this the direction I want to go? And if it is, I still have to figure some things out within it. Now, we say all these things and it sounds really maybe complicated, difficult, and on. So maybe it doesn't. Maybe it sounds very simple, what I'm saying. Maybe this is very basic for someone, right? It's not for everyone in terms of figuring it out, but sometimes you have to develop a circle that's going to help support you in that journey to the point where you figure it out and you can be that much better, not just for your company, But I don't care if you're Apple. I don't care if you're, Steve Jobs, or if you're Tim Cook at Apple, or if you're Elon Musk, or if you're Amazon, Jeff Bezos, or Branson, or whoever, all these all these different people, they still have people they have to answer to. It is never a situation where, hey, I say this and you do what I do, or what I tell you to do, and what have you. If you have customers, right? You don't have customers just because you said what you said and they followed. It's because you provided something.
Well, let me elaborate on that. All those people that you mentioned, don't Elon Musk, Branson, they don't get caught up in the day-to-day minutia of the details. All those people you mentioned are by nature doers. So if you go to a customer and you're a doer and you get things done for them and you do what you say, most important, do what you say you're going to do.
Okay.
That's sometimes, you can get lost in the details and it gets overwhelming and you're like, I don't think I can do this. Sometimes it's with some things you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Do something. Do a small thing each day to get you towards that goal.
I agree.
Especially Elon Musk. He's got big ideas, colonizing Mars. The details, I don't know, but we're going to do it. You don't have to think that big, but they're all people of action,
Right. I agree. There's when you have at whatever level you're at, when you are communicating with people, there's a lot of interviews that I've heard over time, and I mean tons of them, and people I've communicated with, where they say, or the question's been asked, how did you know, to do this or to go in this direction or whatever? The answer is, I just asked my customers, right? I just asked whoever the prospect was. I just asked them, or I took a survey, we gathered this information, and that told us we thought this, but nobody wanted that. Or we put this out there, and in the process of putting this out there, this is what people gravitated toward. And then we realized, oh, okay. And then we needed to figure out why this was important to them. And then we geared our efforts here. We pivoted to this, so us providing, so to speak, a newsletter, that's not how we started out. We started out doing this whole other thing. But when we communicated with our customers, we found out this, and this is what we pivoted toward.
You're inadvertently stating something here. I don't think you know where you're going with this. You started as a brokerage, and you transitioned to this, transition to that. In January, I started one truck, transition to this, that leads to other things. Sometimes just by action in business in general and everything, just by starting and taking that first step, the next step makes itself apparent. Like you started as brokerage, and it became apparent that, okay, there's this other thing that is not being done. I think we're well suited to do it. I'm going to do that. You get started with a customer, you make a phone call. Okay, from one thing I learned in this phone call, made it self-evident that the customer really wants this one thing, and I believe I can do that one thing. Maybe others are failing at it. Anything, really. Things will make themselves evident, and you won't know unless you start somewhere.
Right.
Start doing something.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, if I'm out and about, right, and I'm trying to get to the store, right. I mean, I know where I'm trying to get to, but I got to take one step, next step. You know what I mean? Before to get there, I mean, anything that you do or want to do, there has to be some action behind it, right? And action toward that. I mean, action doesn't mean that it has to be deliberate. It has to be, something that is going in the direction that you're trying to go. Because if I make a left turn, but I should have made a right turn, I've made a mistake. I should have been going the other direction, and it's put out there for me to do that. I need to do that. But if I never take that first step, or if I don't take the proper turn, I'll never get there.
But
Right.
you made a wrong turn. You didn't drive off a cliff. So you can
That
correct
is
that
correct.
wrong turn. It's
It's
not like you drove
learned.
off a cliff.
You learn, right?
Yeah.
You learn, and even in that, here's the thing too. All right, I'll just put it out there. If let's say you come onto my program, right, and I'm not trying to promote my program, but I'm just putting it
You
out there in
should.
the sense of
I am. I'm trying to promote your program.
I know.
fr8connect.com. Email paul.k@fr8connect.com. Now it's your turn. Go
Okay,
ahead,
I
sir.
appreciate that. All right, so let's say you come onto our program, right? I want you to be able to walk away with something, because I'll be honest with you, carriers will come and we'll have great conversations. Some I'll never hear from, some will sign up, right? But I still want you to walk away. I don't want you to walk away with, hey, I didn't get anything out of it, meaning that I didn't get a direct shipper. If you're looking at, hey, just lying it in your lap, okay, putting it in your lap. Well, what happens when that direct shipper goes away? Then you come back to me and then, hey, Paul, can you give me another one? All right, fine. But if you have learned the whole psychological process of it, or, how that all works, you might be able to maintain that client longer. We can help be a support of that. But for what we bring to the table, can help you to understand the psychological process in that, to retain that customer, at the same time be able to see opportunities that exist elsewhere, right? Even
Right.
when things are chaotic as they are now, or when they're more challenging as far as a carrier goes. So if you pay to come to our program, it's not necessarily we're just talking about, oh, we're just going to give you a direct shipper. What we're saying is that you as a carrier, one, let's talk about data. Let's talk about what's out there, what the market looks like, and things like that, the conditions and what have that information that we're providing. You can talk about it. You can use that with your people within your organization. You can use that with the companies that you talk to, the shipper opportunities and things like that. Secondly, we talk to clients on your behalf, or shippers on your behalf. And when we bring those opportunities to you, you may reach out and be like, okay, these guys they're really not interested in talking. They were very busy. Who's not busy?
Right.
The question then is, all right, how do I navigate through that, Paul? Call me and we'll talk about it, right? Let's talk about how to do that.
Yeah, don't just give up. Don't just say, I called them, they were too busy, or I called them, they weren't interested. I guess I'm done here. That's not what you paid for, number one.
No.
And number two, sometimes it's just persistence.
I deal with it all the time. And listen to me, let's see, I'm trying to go back years here. Is it 21, 20? Okay, I'll say this, well over 10 years ago, right? I remember I had a team, sales manager, whatever. And I used to tell them, I'm trying to remember what the three things were. Always be persistent, be consistent. And it was a third thing. I can't remember what it was, but it's like, it doesn't matter the scenario, because things are always changing, right? Customer situations change and what have you. And as they change, who are they going to think of? I want them to think of me, right? Whatever that change might be, even if it's that we just have a conversation, that's fine. Because when I do talk to them, they're feeding me more information that helps me to grow, right? Whatever their situation is, right? So again, we may reach out and then pass it on to you to reach out. Give me a call. How did it go? I want to know. We want to grow, but we also want to help you grow and give you an opportunity to think how, whatever conversation you had, maybe help you navigating through that. Right. And then also the other part, which is in connection with what I just mentioned, we want to help coach you so that you can have these conversations, right? Because dealing with a broker is completely different than a conversation with a direct shipper, right? It's different. And I've had tons of carriers that have told me that, and that's based upon the experience that they've had through communicating with these shippers, right? But that doesn't mean that you're going to figure it out right off the bat. We want to coach you through that process, right? And then even going on beyond that, Yeah, you can still call me, beyond the program. I've not shut my phone to anyone, right? It's like, let's continue to have those conversations, right? I mean, I have conversations with shippers and I find out things that they're going through and on and so forth, or information in regards to the industry and what have you. I'm totally open with having those. You, Adam, you help me, and because you might say, "Hey, I'm over here in the Northeast, and this is what I'm experiencing," right? Or here in the Midwest, or another client who deals with the Midwest, and it's like, "Man, I didn't realize that things are this way in the Midwest." When you hear about how the market is, there are certain areas that are hotter, right, than others. Let's talk about that. Maybe you might want to even think about venturing in this area or that area, or we may just want to talk about your market, but yet you're developing. Hopefully when we have conversations, there's information that you're gathering. So when you have conversations with shippers or your team or whomever, right, going to the bank, these things are give you ammunition, not to
Prepared. It
hurt
prepares you.
someone, but yeah, it prepares you to win, right? Not to downgrade anyone else, not to shoot back and fire back at someone else and put them down. No, but to show some kind of value, or to show, where you're headed, right? And give you this ammunition to grow,
Yeah.
So it's really, and this is not just in the trucking industry, any industry that you're in business wise, they have sales teams, right? And I know that when I got into sales, one of the things that I realized over time was that there are people that just kind of get into sales just to have a job, right? And it's not necessarily to kind of figure it all out and how to deal with customers or situations and on and so forth. And they go home and like, man, I hate my job, or man, this is just so hard, or hey, making all these calls, blah blah blah. No, so I love making the initial call. That's the hardest call to make, and I say that in the sense that as you as a carrier, do you have time to make those initial calls? And those calls are completely different than that warm call. But at the same, again, I'm not trying to promote us. What I'm saying is that if you can do it, right? I'll even talk to you about it, before you ever sign up to our program. You make your own decision. But that is what we do, right? You open up the back door. That's where we are. We're making those calls. We even give you full transparency to see those calls at any time, the calls that we're making. You have my phone number. You can give me a call. Hey, Paul, how's this going? Blah, blah, blah. And we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But again, that's what needs to happen in any sales environment, So,
Yeah, I can't see. Maybe times right now are different where you get multiple chances, this and that. But
yeah.
You charge a very, very easy to manage fee for this, and I can't imagine. I'm not a trained salesperson. Okay, if I'm serious, like if I'm serious about this or having this customer, or if I see, 5 miles up the road, there's this place. I've hauled broker loads out of there. I know what they do. I know where their loads go. I want that customer, and I want it bad. Okay, so should I go talk to him? Not being a fairly well-trained salesperson? No, I'm not. Or having experienced phone calls with you and what you do, I can't imagine not having you do it. You're gonna hit 20-to-1 success ratio of what I'm gonna do. And if that particular customer is that important to me, I want a professional like what you do doing it, not me. Like if there's somebody like I don't really care about, and I want to practice, have a practice run at it and say I'm just gonna give him a call, see if I can do this. But not if it's a big deal. Not if it's that's the one place I gotta have. I might get one. You might get one chance at this if you call them and screw it up. You one chance because you say something stupid, they will remember you. I guarantee you that.
But here, let me add to that. Okay, you may say something stupid, but here's the thing. Okay, the way I look at it, okay, and the way I train is that you can turn that into an opportunity. right?
Okay.
I mean, there are, I mean, maybe there's something that you say that just you cannot recover from. I don't know. But again, the consistency of thinking opportunity, right? The consistency of when someone says this or someone says that, and being able to, instead of hearing, if I hear someone and they sound rushed, then all of a sudden my mindset is assuming, okay, I need to be short, or I need to move on, or I need to, they don't have time. Or they even tell me, hey, you know what, you got 2 minutes. I got to go to the meeting, right? Am I going to take that scenario and say, all right, man, I'm panic, right? And kind of fumble through, or make that the ultimate presence of what I'm doing? Here's here's the way I look at it. What I have to offer is very valuable, meaning
I
that
agree.
my client, that what they offer and being able to help support you, depending upon what your business is all about, my client could offer something that's very valuable to you, right? So I'm not making this call just to make a call and annoy you and take up 5 minutes when you only got 2 minutes, right? But I might, and this is just one of multiple ways I can go about it. Why not say, you know what? Fine, I'm ready for you. Tell me when my time starts. And then go at it and make your presentation or whatever it is, how you go about it. Hey, this is Paul. I'm with Freight Connect or whatever, and here's the reason for my call. And what I'd love to do is this in the end. All right, is my time up? Yeah, that was 2 minutes. Tell me how I did. All right, well, yeah, so I've flipped the script, right? In the sense that, I did it within your time frame. I was mindful of that. And at the
I was
same time,
respectful of your boundaries.
give me feedback. Now
Yep.
it's on you. You told me I had 2 minutes. How did I do? Did I do well? No. Why not? What did I do wrong? So here's what's happened. In that 2 minutes, I've been different. I was different when I made that call. Secondly, I flipped the script in the sense, all right, help me out. Tell me what did I impact you in any kind of way? Was this meaningful to you? Did this resonate or whatever? Or I might say, you know what, that's fine. Call me back after my meeting. Or, which I've had situations where people have told me, one, I didn't have time, 5 minutes or whatever. We were on the phone for half an hour, even to an hour with a shipper during time periods where they used before COVID, and they would get tons of calls from people. And they're like,
Right.
Some have even told me, Paul, I don't normally take these type of calls, right? But I did stay on the phone with you, because of whatever, right? But my whole thing was, to be honest with you, this was my thing. I wasn't focused on your issues, meaning in terms of that you take a whole bunch of calls, or that you're so busy and all that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I wasn't respectful and all that. It was that I believed what I was offering. You see what I'm saying? I believed in the service that I was. It wasn't about rate. It wasn't about that. None of that. I believed in what I had to offer. And if I believe in it, right, I want you to know. And if I want you to know, if it's compelling to you with what I'm presenting, guess what you're going to do? You're going to reciprocate. You're going to respond accordingly. And it might even be where, you know what, Paul, hey, I appreciate your time, but I'm not interested. I'm okay with that, you see, because everyone is not going to understand, and their situation may be where, no, they have no need or interest, right? And that's okay. But I cannot try to change things on my end just to cater to everyone in anyone's situation. I have to be true to what. So if you fill out our survey, right, and you come aboard, hopefully that the information that you provide is honest and true to what, you've already done some self-evaluation. You're providing this information because when we put together your packet, right, we're putting together a representation of you, right? And therefore, if this is real, when you're talking to the shipper, the information that you're giving them is going to be consistent. It's going to be consistent with that information that we present to them in that packet. But you're going to be able to stand on what you say, or what we say, or what that packet says. You're going to be able to stand on what it is that you say you're all about.
Right.
And that makes you unique in the sense that I don't have to try to finagle or, try to be what I'm not.
Stretch
right?
the truth even.
I don't have to try to stretch the truth, right? But if I'm about my business, right, and this is what's real about me and my business, it becomes easier, more fun, and you can be consistent in your efforts, and you'll be successful, is the way I see it, right? You might have to make adjustments, but that's a part of again, listening to the audience and saying whatever it is that you say you're offering, does it resonate? Is it what people want? Because you do have people that you have to answer to, just like the CEO. The CEO cannot just put out there whatever he wants. You know what I mean? It's got to be, people got to do research, and you got to filter through all that, which your VP is bringing back to you, and determine what direction we really need to go. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. we talked about a lot of different things here today.
It's real. Yeah.
And I really wanted to get into more, but we gotta, maybe I just save it and have you back if you'll come and do this some more.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man.
All right.
Absolutely.
Phone number. I mean, what's the best way for people to get you? Do you prefer to contact you through the website, email? Can people, even if they're not necessarily right now even ready for this, they're thinking maybe next year I'm getting my own authority, maybe whatever. Yeah. Can they get on you send out an email regularly? I don't know if you call it a newsletter or just a informational email. Yeah. Can people get, on that list to start getting that?
Yeah, absolutely. We send out an email, and just kind of what's going on, or even what we're thinking about and things like that. And we put stuff out there in terms of our predictions. And but to do that, and you can give us a call and we can talk about it and whatever. Tell us what you're experiencing, because we love to hear that information. It would be, they could go to our website, www.freightconnect.com, and just go in there and sign up, like the free thing, and as a carrier or even as a shipper, and we'll have your information, and you can do it that way. If you want to reach out to me direct, and I see it there, paul.k@fr8connect.com, and that comes to me direct, and love to communicate with you and talk about things that you're dealing with or whatever. So absolutely, yes.
Excellent. So everybody watching here today, I mean, if you've made it through this whole thing, thank you. Or even made it to the end here. It shows you care about your business, you care about information, having good information, because Paul puts out the best. I mean, there's nobody else really doing this kind of information. I'm along for the ride, here to just promote it. But if you're curious, give them a call. We're all here to help. We're all here to support you. This is a great community. Number one, we support each other. I'll answer any questions I can as I'm able. Obviously time is a factor, but I try to answer as many questions as I can in email or in the comments. Reach out for help. Prepare yourself. If you're on the sidelines and you're saying, "Well, next year I'm gonna call. I'm getting my own authority. I'm gonna call on this." Start preparing yourself now. You can always work on yourself. If you're the type of person you're scared to make the phone calls, intimidated, that's a real thing to work on. I'm not above to say that I've had to work on that. This should never be above anything. Business is business, man. When you need to get business done, pride just out the window. You put your pride aside and get to work. So is it your birthday?
My birthday?
Yes.
No, we got a ways to go, and don't rush it, man. But
somebody said somebody wished you happy birthday, so I thought they knew something that I didn't.
Oh, is that right?
But, okay. There's a thing behind you that says happy birthday to me.
Oh no! Oh, that thing. Oh. No, that's something actually that was we had a sign from my dad, and it was when they used to have those drive-bys, they
Okay.
would do the birthday, the graduations, and we
Yeah.
did that for my dad, and I never erased it, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, check it out. Check out fr8connect.com. Get in touch. And we're going to continue to do this. There's a lot more to talk about. I'd like to give regular progress reports, I guess. I'd like to know how things are going for you, the kind of conversations that I know we've talked in private, like the conversations you were having 7, 8 months ago when people would call to find out about your service, to the conversations you have now when people call to find out about your service, if they've changed. So people are getting it, which is it's beneficial to everybody. It's great. So it's making a difference.
Yeah.
We'd like to keep doing it. So really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for coming in. Thank you for the super chats, everybody. Mark Ely, thank you. Alex, Cash is King Trucking, Fate Trucking, appreciate that. And sorry, I didn't get to answer a lot of questions today. This topic here today was mine. This is what I wanted to talk about. We're going to have more talking about different aspects of this. New things will come to light all the time. Like we said, they'll make themselves evident, and we're gonna keep doing it. Yeah. We're gonna keep doing it because I think as many people say, well, maybe this wasn't for me, it didn't work for me. We've had some great successes too, and maybe someday we can get some of those people to pop in. I don't know if they're camera shy, but I know one of them. Maybe we can talk to or whatever, and get some people to pop in and talk about how it's worked for them, or the successes that they've had, or the issues that they've encountered and how they dealt with them. I'd really like to do that. If anybody is ever willing, we'll never give out names. You don't have to give your name, your company name. You can stay anonymous. But yeah, let's do that, and we'll do this again. So thank you, Paul. Stay on here for a second, and I'm going to wrap this up. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.